Hello, welcome to Back on Track with Devil Inside. This is episode 2, and the song's moved on a fair bit since the last time. In particular, we're starting to develop some identity with the guitars. I stripped the whole song back, muted the vocal line, really listened to what the core of the song was trying to do, driven by the bass, informed by the bass, and the guitars then started to make a little bit more sense. And I think they're developing an identity now, and I'm becoming happy, really happy with some elements of it, and it's getting there. We re-recorded the vocals yesterday, and I've just done the processing on them. I've changed the lyrics and the cadence of how it's sung, and I asked Pauline to sing as tight as she could to the core rhythm and bass, to really try to tie that in, to get that element of kind of tight funk about it. So anyway, let's have a listen to it, and then we can come back and see what's going on. Yeah, I think that's a much better song than version 1. We're starting to develop some kind of cohesive identity now. The lyrics, like I say, have had an overhaul. I've been listening to version 1 for a long time now. This has been in the mix for a good while, this song. And so I've really come to develop a good opinion about which lyrics I like and which I don't. So I've thrown all the ones away that just don't quite make the grade. I call it the less than 7 test. 7 out of 10 is the absolute bare minimum. It's good enough. I can't do any better, and I've tried, and it's good enough. If anything falls below that, if there's a lyric that just doesn't quite cut the muster, it's really hard sometimes to throw it away after having spent like hours battling over a line, but you've got to. It's rubbish. So I've been through the whole vocal line and overhauled it, and I'm pretty happy with it now. The one thing that I'm most happy with, and it's a musical thing, it's nothing to do with the lyrics themselves, there's a little switch from Mixolydian to Dorian at the end of the verse. That don't is a C, which isn't in A Mixolydian. It turns it into A Dorian, which basically then turns it into a minor scale, goes from the major Mixolydian scale into a minor Dorian. So that one note in the vocal line, where it should be a C sharp and it's a C, it's really cool. I really like the end of the verse, and it was a total accident. I actually pressed the wrong note on the keyboard, but then my ears said, well, hang on a minute, it sounds good. When you go through the rest of the song, at that moment in time, there are no C sharps being played. So, and this is one of these things I obsess with. You know, if there was a full A major chord being played in the background, I probably wouldn't have let that get through. And yet, that's the gold. That's the good stuff. So, fortunately, because it kind of passed that initial filtering process and got into the stage where it's wormed its way in now, and I would twist other parts of the song to fit it if they were dissonant, I'm now thinking, that's brilliant. The last half of the last bar of the verse switches from Mixolydian to Dorian, and now that sparked new interest. Maybe I can find other like motifs to put in, like hit some kind of minor chord somewhere to bring out that kind of Dorian-ness of the sound. But just on its own, I really like the idea that because for years and years I was absolutely, you know, a song has to be in a key and those are the only notes you're allowed to play. And then you come along something like Giant Steps by John Coltrane, where he says, well, hang on a minute, allow me to retort. And so I'm, you know, very much still on the noob side of scales from that perspective. You know, I still do tend to work in entire blocks of scales, and I don't have that jazz musician's ability to modulate every chord change. But occasionally little accidents like this happen, and if I'm sufficiently tuned in to hear that they sound good and then try to figure out how to make the rest of the song fit around it, I think that's to my benefit, and something that I need to remember that in future when I hit the next accidental note, and don't, you know, be so hasty to just throw it away. Or I could so easily have just changed it to a C sharp and kept it in Mixolydian. So I thought that was really interesting. A bit of a little kind of scale level up moment for me there, where I realised that something I'd done accidentally was good enough to stay. This little guitar, the Funky Interlude 1, I like. Really simple. But that's a nice sound. Let's have a listen of what's going on here. So a really simple, I think essentially presetless. We've got a compressor on here, tube compressor, not doing that much coloration to the sound. Essentially it's all coming out of this orange amp. That is pretty crunchy, I like it. You'll see I've actually got the amplitude preset on the bus here. These are like stereo channels, so if I record two versions of the same guitar, I'll actually put the effect on the bus. I don't necessarily have to have the same preset on both tracks, which is basically just, it's kind of almost like You know, one of those like 25 millisecond delays where it's just doubling the sound or thickening it up. You get that tiny little bit of chorusy sound. I'm starting to prefer to put the plug-in on the bus, and then if I'm changing the sound, I don't have to do it on both tracks at the same time. I can just do it on the bus. Similar kind of thing going on with this this grunge sound over here. I really like this sound, actually. This was just having a bit of a browse through the presets. You hear it doing different things in different ears. It's a stereo preset, and these are so easy to miss when you're in Amplitude or any like guitar VST that gives you stereo tracks. Remember to look at both sides, because it's really easy to edit this amp and your brain gets a little bit confused with what you're hearing. It's because over on the right hand channel there's a completely separate amplifier, so these are two essentially independent VSTs that then merge together at the end to chuck their stereo sound out. That is a really interesting, rich sound, particularly in headphones. Sounds great. Very happy with that. The rhythm I'm becoming increasingly settled with. I realised that I didn't need to do much fiddling. I've thrown the other VSTs away. There were 2 muted VSTs in episode 1. They've gone. I've concentrated on this BFD preset. As you can see, assigned all the various individual sounds to different tracks in Cubase so that I've got, you know, control of it in the mixer. Yeah, I just wanted to pull the kick and snare down a little bit, and I thought, well, rather than going into the VST and messing around with the volumes over there, I'm happy with this drum sound. It's going to stay. Let's go to the effort of mapping them all to individual tracks, and then that's done. So I've got, when I really start honing in on the rhythm section and trying to get everything absolutely pin on, then I'm part of the way there. This wah wah track wants to be better than it actually is. I don't know whether or not it might be badly played, or it might just not be the quite the right groove. But when you listen to it on its own, it's very simple. It's fine, but it doesn't quite bed into the song. Timing's just not quite there with the vocals, so I'll have a bit more of a think about why, whether or not I can fix it with Audio Warp, or maybe try re-recording it. Now that I've got the vocals, I might try to play the guitar along to the vocals, and you know, it's all a case of locking all of the sounds together, finding out how they all mesh together. This chorusy break thing, which you can see is muted, was kind of a much more musical idea. When I was having the clean sweep of the song and kind of trying to decide what to keep and what to throw away, the prime directive was keep it funky, keep it energetic, and this kind of stuff. Sorry. Which is, you know, musically fine. I could bring it back in and it doesn't sound out of place. You see how it's tripping all over the funky interlude line, which is better. You know, that's the sound you want. That's a really strong kind of signature moment of the song. So you don't want that chorusy thing right in the same frequency zone, just conflicting. So it's one of those that individually it's fine. In isolation it would stay, but there's something better come along, and so it's got to make way. But on the whole, I'm much happier about the song now. You know, I would say I'm more than half the way there. If I can listen to the vocals over the next couple of days and try to decide if they are actually now the settled version, have I finally got the lyrics right and I'm happy with them in every respect, then I can then start thinking about locking other sounds, locking other instruments into those, and really kind of starting to get that core of the song strong. But yeah, we're definitely heading in the right direction. And if you subscribe and hit notifications, then you'll get notified when episode 3 comes out. So I hope to see you then. Thanks very much for watching.